Yes, fight fans. It's HardTalk USA, and it's in our new home. It's Red Corner Boxing. You can find us on YouTube, Red Corner Boxing 99, and on X at Jams Boxing Chat. This is episode 30 of HardTalk USA. But before we get into the topics of the night, we're going to do a little tribute to George Foreman, who passed away on Saturday morning. Yes, the great George Foreman. A tragedy is certainly, from my perspective, because like I grew up with George as a young boy, especially when he becomes champion second time round. But look, let's go back upon briefly upon a career. Olympic champion at 19 at the Mexico 68 Olympic Games. As we all know, with Olympic champions, they go on to future success. But it took George 3 fights to get to a belt, which he'd done, beating Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, and then went to lose on to Muhammad Ali in Rumble in the Jungle. Subsequent fights after that didn't yield another chance for one reason or another. And in his 47th fight against Jimmy Young, he suffered defeat. But it was after that defeat in the dressing room that George Foreman found God in a religious experience. And 3 years, just before that, he announced his shock departure from boxing at the age of 27. 3 years later, in 1980, he formed his own ministry in Houston, Texas, the home of you, Remy, and became a minister and opened up all kinds of church youth projects. But 10 years down the line, he found that God had, he needed to do another task at boxing, and entered boxing for the second time in 1987 and started a 25-fight journey to finally get that third chance at the WBA champion Michael Moorer on the 11th. I think it was the 18th of November, 1994. So he became champion second time round. He dropped his belts to WBA, and the IBF, and still had the lineal belt. And it wasn't until Shannon Briggs in 1997 that he lost that lineal belt. But he was the oldest champion at 45 years and 299 days. A record that can't be beaten again. Surely not. The great George Foreman then went on to do some commentary in HBO, where he just enjoyed boxing and his family and God, and he spread that love. But it's a great loss to boxing and to many a fan. So that was George Foreman. Let's pay some respect to the legends while they're here. And yes, and please give us 20 seconds of silence in memorandum of George Foreman. Thank you very much. My name's Mr. Neutral. Your host is Remy from Remy's Corner Talks. Remy, how are you, mate?
I'm doing great, man. I also want to give my condolences publicly to his granddaughter, Justice Foreman.
Of course.
As well. She's a friend of mine, as well as we do have very close ties to people who are in the Foreman family. Me being from Texas, it's 6 degrees of separation. You know someone. But I'm actually very cool with his granddaughter, Justice, and I want to wish my condolences to her as well. And the family. I feel like George Foreman did a great amount for Texas boxing in general. Not only that, but the communities in Texas. There was a huge loss for the state as a whole. But he made his mark while he was here, and I want to publicly thank him and his family for everything they brought to the sport and to the state of Texas.
Absolutely, mate. We sadly miss, gentlemen, Ra and Brett.
Yeah, absolutely. Just seeing all the tributes in the last 24 hours of what he meant to so many different people, and the fact that you look at he's probably one of the last, if not the last, standing boxing god in the heavyweight division. And I just came across a beautiful clip yesterday when he talked about how he fell in love with Muhammad Ali. And the two old fellas trying to figure out FaceTime, and that's how they decided to keep in touch with each other. It was just so touching, and just shows you what this sport is. This sport's took a lot of shit recently, and I know we're going to get into it, and we all have our moans. But the thing is, if you've ever stood in there and you've ever shared the ring with somebody, there is and I'm talking from amateur to the top level. There is this fan respect that you've got of somebody, regardless of what happens in the build up. You've got some fan respect, but just to see at that level when George was pouring his heart out about Muhammad Ali, it just made me very sad, and we've all got our opinions on it. But what a legend! What a legend!
Yes, Ra.
Yeah, echo that exactly. I don't think we'll ever see his like again. I mean, the journey is just unfathomable by modern standards.
Two separate careers in one.
Two separate careers. Becoming heavyweight champ at middle age. He was what, 46?
Just shy of 46.
2 years younger than me. Yes, every time I watch some of these fights, I do feel like getting the gloves back on, but I ain't actually going to do it. George Foreman did. It's unfathomable what he did. Yeah,
it's the true Rocky story, really, isn't it? The fall from grace in Korea 1, and then to come back, find God, come back and do it all again for another 10 years. A crowning moment in 1994.
One thing that we can say, at least, his was a story with a happy ending.
Yeah.
Because how many fighters do we see, go off the rails after their career? He found that peaceful job. I think he was at peace with what he'd done in his career, which I think a lot of ex-fighters never come to terms with. By all accounts, he lived life. He had a good life.
Right. Don't get spoke about enough how great he was on those. We're all looking through at these fights on these ESPN fights back in the 90s, early 2000s, and he's commentating on them. His commentary was second to none as well. Just remembering that time that Lennox Lewis knocked Ruckman out, and he was talking about that fateful night in Africa, and then boom. And just some, he's had some iconic commentary moments as well. Forget about all the other stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I remember the Lennox Lewis Tyson fight when he was commentating on that, and he was saying quite possibly the greatest champion we've ever seen, at the time, which is a massive laud from George. Look, Remy,
George had a hand in noticing a lot of talent on HBO as well. When there were a lot of narratives pushed against guys, he always kind of would have the needle in the haystack opinion that would go further than people would see at the time. And he was usually right about fighters when he said they were the real deal.
Yeah, and case in point into what you said there is that, he had that, he used HBO and that platform. I remember when he was commentating on the Michael Moore Evander Holyfield fight when Michael Moore won, and he was criticizing Michael Moore and saying what mistakes that he made, and 3 years later and it's because of that, and he shouted out Michael Moore, called him out, that Michael Moore thought he was easy work, because George had lost to Evander just a couple of years before, and they've lost 18 months before his last fight against Tommy Morrison. So Michael Moore thought he was easy work, and obviously the rest is history. Right, Remy, take us away with the topics for tonight, please, sir.
Okay, so we're gonna get started, guys. It's been a lot going on in Boxing Day, especially on the business
sir.
side. So we want to get started with one of the most monumental things going on the women's side of boxing. So love him or hate him, at this point, I feel like you can't say anything about Jake Paul using boxing and not adding anything to the sport. He has been phenomenal for women's boxing. He's kind of bringing about an evolution to the eyes and the attention that women are getting by getting Alicia Baumgardner, the 135-pound champion. I believe that this is like, she was the perfect one to pluck. You know, if you look at from a marketability standpoint, let's just be honest, fellas. Let's just be honest. She's hot. She's hot as a firecracker. She's a bombshell. She's a looker, right? Not only that, but she has punching power, real punching power. That's what people love to see. Jake Paul made an amazing move by signing her. She's one of the premier women's fighters in America. There's a lot to say with what Jake Paul did with Katie Taylor and Serrano, the numbers, the attention he brought to them. But he just got one of the marquee women's fighters. And I would say, besides Clarissa Shield, the most well-known, most recognizable women's fighter in America right now. What do you guys say to that? And what do you guys think Jake Paul is doing for the sport as far as that goes? And also, what do you guys see as far as the matchups go for Alicia and her future going forward?
Great question, Brett. I know your time, limited, so you start first, please.
Yeah, I can't disagree with Remy when he says love him or hate him, because that is the dividing factor of Jake Paul in terms of, you put me on a different topic, Remy, and you say, what is Jake a serious fighter? And that's a different conversation to what he's actually doing for women's boxing. It's unbelievable what he's doing for women's boxing. He's getting them the paychecks that they deserve. I think you're absolutely spot on when you talk about, there isn't any, Katie Taylor, she can't sell a fight with her mouth, right? She can't. Katie Taylor sells a fight with her fists, and what she's done for the sport, the evolution of women's boxing in terms of where she came from to what she is. But Alicia Baumgardner, there's a bit of controversy there. We won't go into that, but there is a bit of controversy there. However, she looks the part. She talks the part. We all tune in when there's anything. Whenever she's spouting off about something, we tune in. Pair that up with Jake Paul, and you've got another superstar of women's boxing. I mean, she's already a superstar, Alicia Baumgardner. She's already a superstar. But pairing them two together and the way that he's going to sell her, a genius move for both Jake Paul and Alicia, because they're all going to start flocking towards Jake now in terms of the women's stuff. Look what he's done with Serrano. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And, good on him on that side. I actually think, though, the last thing I'll say on this, watch out, promoters, because he might start, he might take on one of these fights. We won't go into the Anthony Joshua thing because that was just a shitty call out on his part, because it's more markability for him. But watch out, because if he's successful on the women's side, he might go further and further and further into this boxing game. And promoters better look over their shoulders, because he can sell things.
It's intriguing. It's really intriguing. Ra, what do you think about it?
I partly agree. I think Jake Paul's a brilliant promoter. Not hating on him at all. I don't think he, in his heart of hearts, sees himself as a serious boxer. So I think we should get off his case about the whole fight a serious fighter. Well, if he was serious about it, we'd have seen him moving like a serious fighter. But he's not. It's 3-4 years in. So he's using his own fights as a vehicle for his promotional side. I'm not convinced about the promoting women's boxing side of things. Both Serrano and Baumgardner, it's essentially forced, isn't it? So he's doing what, say, Turkey's doing with some of the men's sport, in that he's subsidizing it. I very much doubt Amanda or Baumgardner are going to sell in on, their own right. There's only one woman in the sport that really sells on her own, and that's Katie Taylor. And that's because Ireland, she's got the whole country behind her. She doesn't need to talk. Baumgardner, Mr. Neutral, you know about what a bitter, twisted sod I am. Yeah, even though I'm younger than you, colder and bitter, more twisted than you. Anyone that mugs me off, they go on my hate list. See, Born Gardner, she mugged me off when I asked her if she's single. Like, yeah, you asked me if I'm single, like you know, like you got any business asking me? I told her, listen, Alicia, you got a lot of male fans. Your fans want to know. But anyway, is she really as hot as you think, Remy? Well, King, all four of us here, don't ever forget this words of advice, yeah? The male of the species, we are the truly beautiful of the species. So I'll tell you why. We don't need makeup. We don't need silicone. We don't need hair extensions. When we're beautiful, this is really what we look like. Yeah? Take off Alicia's makeup and her hair extensions. Yeah? She's no more beautiful than Imam Khalif. And she might have the same she might have the same medical condition, judging by the results of that test that came through in Detroit. So time will tell. But seriously though, on a boxing front, what sort of huge fights are there for her? Katie Taylor's on her way out. Yeah. So she moves up to lightweight. Maybe our own Caroline, if Caroline can become undisputed. But it don't look like any of the fighters around that weight class are big sellers. So I don't know. I mean, I think Jake Paul's doing her favor.
Interesting.
I was thinking Amanda, but part of me feels like the signing was kind of to get her out of Amanda's way, maybe also. You know, that might have been a play in that.
Listen, I've got a theory on that. Before that, Trill Dollar Bill, welcome to the show.
Much love. What's going on with it?
Big up to you, sir. I don't know how much you've caught of the show, Trill, but you know, we started off obviously with a tribute to George Foreman. We then, our first topic of the night is actually the signing of Alicia Baumgardner.
Icon, Mr. Neutral. The box.
Sorry. Yeah, absolutely, mate. We did it. I was shocked and saddened, sir, on Saturday morning. It put me off the weekend, if you know what I mean. You know, but yeah, after a couple of days, and it starts to sink in. So sad day, a sad time. Sorry, especially for his family and friends. But you know, it's back to the topic in hand. Trill, Alicia Baumgardner signed with MVP. Remy was saying that we've got to start accepting that Jake Paul is into boxing now. And then in a big way, you know, I think personally he's a better promoter than he is a boxer. And what he's doing for women's boxing it is incredible. I've seen someone today complaining, you know, when are we going to stop talking about women's boxing? And I'm thinking, mate, it's here to stay and it's growing. So, you know, you best get on board or just be misogynistic as much as you can be. So, Trill, you know, first and foremost, what's your thoughts on Jake Paul and what he's doing for women's boxing, and why has he signed Alicia Baumgardner in your view?
Oh, that's a lot to unravel, my brother, but we're gonna get through it together.
Let's do
it. You know, when Jake Paul first got into boxing, right? I don't like to use this term when I refer to myself, but I was a massive hater. I was a massive hater. You know, I hated on him. I was like, you know, who's this YouTuber coming in the boxing? I thought they was trying to make a mockery of boxing. Then I started seeing the things that he was doing. You know, giving certain people a chance to shine, giving them the money that they deserve, hooking these women up and paying them the money that they should be getting. You know, I thought it was dope. I thought it was dope. And then I seen that he was really taking this sport serious. A lot of people gave him a hard time because he was coming up and he was fighting these MMA guys, right? And that's just because we wanted to hate. I wanted to
Yeah, we don't want a YouTuber thinking
Listen,
he can come and do this
listen,
boxing serious business.
I was like, yo, listen, this is boxing. You know what I'm saying? You don't play boxing. You don't try to make a spectacle of this. And then you ain't even fighting no real fighters. You fighting MMA fighters. I was giving him the business, Mr. Neutral. I was going crazy on him. You know what I'm saying? Like I told you, I was a massive hater, right? But then
knocking out Nate Robinson.
Exactly. Then I had to take a look back, right? And then I had to look back at all the greats and all the people that they started off fighting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, dang, maybe I'm being a little hard on the kid. Maybe I'm being too hard on the kid. And then I seen, the steps and the people that he was putting around him so that he can get better. Then I'm hearing things about him training and paying certain people to be there and come down to Puerto Rico to work on him so he can work on stuff all year round. I was like, wow, he's taking this stuff serious. Thinking that Mike Tyson was going to beat him. I thought that was crazy. I said, do you know what this kid is doing all year round? He's taking this thing serious. There's nothing left for me to do but to respect him. I don't respect all the clown antics and stuff that he does, but as far as him loving this sport and taking this sport serious and helping other fighters get light and compensating fighters for what they deserve, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Now with him, Alicia Bumgarner, he's gonna get a bag. We know that. He's gonna promote it if that she gets the bag. I don't know. This is gonna try to make it so that she passes the torch to Amanda Serrano, passes the torch to her type thing. You know what I'm saying? And then she, keeps the banner of MVP going. So I don't know if that's gonna happen, but that's.
Trill, do you think it's a genius move, seeing as our Turkeys obviously wants nothing to do with women's boxing at all? So do you think it's also a genius move from Jake Paul, seeing that this market needs to be a market, and rightly so. So he's jumping on it now because Turkey will just not go down that route at all. That's kind of it's not just about the fact that he's done a great job with Serrano. He's probably, as a businessman, he's seen a market there as well.
And that's why we call you the boxing man.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's why we call you the boxing man, because you're spot on right with that. Because
he is.
You jump right in there on the market right there and soup all the women fighters you possibly can and do what Turkey's doing with a tournament. So that can open. I've been saying that. That's what you needed to do, and I think that's probably where he's leading to, making one of these cards where it's all women, all the big women on one card. That will sell, and people will come out for that.
Yeah, thank you, Trill. Welcome, Rico, partner of Trill from across the way on iBoxing Hub. How are you doing, sir?
Rico's had problems since he tried helping me and Trey on the iBoxing Hub show earlier.
Oh, he might be having. Can't hear you, son. Come out and come back in. Just to follow up on what you were saying there, Brett. He has identified that women's boxing lacks a big promoter. We know Eddie Hearn and Queensberry are dabbling in women's boxing, and they're keeping it alive to a certain extent. But Jake Paul is the one with MVP and the platform that he has. He's the one. He's Turkey Al-Sheikh to women's boxing. And Turkey Al-Sheikh has made no surprise or no secret that he's not into women's boxing. So Jake Paul has stepped in.
You could see Eddie though. You could see Eddie, because Eddie was the pioneer. Let's have it right.
Of course,
Eddie was the pioneer of pushing women's boxing forward, and it helped that he had a superstar in Katie Taylor that started.
Very much so.
However, you might see Eddie because Eddie's getting a bit of the elbow from Turkey. You might see Eddie making some more moves now, because it's interesting when you see some of Eddie's interviews around the Turkey thing. He might see a way that he's getting pushed out, so he's going to forge a way back. I mean, look at the card. I know we're going to get onto it, but the Australian card, it was nice to see high-profile women's fights on that. He wasn't having to play to anybody's tune.
Perfect
He was playing to his tune.
Are you back with us, Rico? No. The producer says he signed up Alif Nur Turhan, who had a very good performance recently, gentlemen. The 135 division, his MVP has signed Alicia Baumgartner. I seen Caroline Dubois on In the Ring with Christine today. Very good interview. Big up the ladies there, Christine, Crystal, and Nika. Great show. Like and subscribe to the channel for all using the chat. But Caroline Dubois was hinting that, you know, she would love to go to America and fight one of the ladies involved within the MVP. Can we see a big ladies tournament in America, Remy, coming up in the future?
I think that's the way things are shaping up. It would be a no-brainer thing if you want to kind of take women's boxing to that next step. Like, for instance, when the 168-pound division got kind of dry, but they had the talent. You know, they threw Froch, they threw Kessler, they threw Ward in there, and they made a tournament to where, you know, people who are in the know about boxing understand, you know, the talent level of all the people. And with women boxing, you have Serrano, you have Taylor, you have Cameron, you have Dubois, and they're in or around the same weight division, probably from about 30 to 40 and 47, and they have a different scale for losing weight, so they're able to kind of, you know, flip between the weight classes a bit different than the men. I think it would be perfect to have between, you know, 6 to 10 of them figure something out. Jake Paul would be a genius if he was to hop on that, you know, and pretty much pit them against each other. There's Pursoon, there's Cameron, there's Jonas, there's all these girls around near each other's weight. You know, they could make some good, really good scraps. Speaking of those scraps, you had Brown and Nicholson, you know, and I thought that was a great built-up fight as well. Did you guys get to catch that fight with Nicholson on the Kambosos undercard?
Yeah.
I woke up at 4:00 in the morning for that fight.
I do want to set the stage. I do want to set the table for that. So a lot of people were they were dissing Sky. They were saying she's like Shakur Stevenson, but with less talent. They were saying that she wasn't engaging. People believe she wasn't trying to engage. Tiara was the more ferocious fighter. She seemed to be the one more, you know, she wanted to win. It was the complexion of her energy and the things she did in the ring. She just seemed like she wanted to win. I'm not going to lie. I feel like they gave Sky a bit too many rounds. Overall, what do you guys think about that? I'm very happy for Tiara Brown because this was something she was gunning for Sky for a minute. She was gunning for Sky.
Let's bring in Ra.
Sorry. Sky Nicholson. Yeah, I was surprised. I thought pretty privilege, which Tiara accused her of benefiting from throughout her career. I thought that and home field advantage would see her through on the scorecards. Not surprised at how the fight went, but I'm surprised that 2 of the 3 judges gave Tiara, because especially Tiara's, although she's done well for, you know, keeping her name, you know, sort of relevant by doing the talking, which you need to do, by the way. Certainly not criticizing it. In fact, I always tell a lot of these ladies, too many of you girls want to be friends with each other. It's the fight game. You're not here to be friends. But I thought Tiara being based over in America, that they could rob her and it will get forgotten about. You know, there won't be too much of an outrage. But fair play. The concluding judge was the Aussie judge who gave it to her the widest. So yeah, it was legit. Let's see if she can get some of them other fights. I think her against Karis would be that'd be good. I think that'd be a good
Karis style.
Yeah, because I think they're both a bit, you know, they're both that sort of abrasive personalities. I think Sky, she just tried to laugh off Tiara's
That's an interesting.
Someone like Chris, I don't think would do that. I think the build-up would be fun, and I think that's what the women's game needs more of. Like I said, I think there's too many of these ladies want to be friends, and that's holding them back from building the genuine interest. Yeah.
Amanda Serrano.
Sorry, Serrano. Yeah, she's too friendly.
I was saying Serrano. She must. Yeah.
Sorry, you broke up there, Remy. I didn't catch that.
No, I was saying Amanda Serrano. Like, don't do that with Baumgartner. Y'all fight. Like,
yeah, exactly. Look, so far, it looks like it's all very friendly. Now, if Serrano's never, planning on moving back down, fair enough. But we don't know what their plans are. But I think I'm a believer that with fighters, if you're in and around the same weight class, you shouldn't be friends. That's why I actually like Clarissa. I know, Mr. Neutral, we've talked about this on our group chat. Everyone hates on Clarissa. Oh, she's so arrogant. She's so mean-spirited. I think, she's a real fighter. She's getting in on all her rivals. Yeah? You're not supposed to be friends. Don't congratulate each other. Don't try and suck up to each other. All of this airy-fairy niceness. You can be friends when your career's over, like, God rest their soul, George and Muhammad Ali were. When they're retired, they can look back and be friends and laugh at it. While you're still competitive, go in on each other, create some beef, get the fans interested. I mean, look at the Ben Eubank fight. It's going to be the biggest selling fight in this country, and it's nothing in purely sports terms. It's selling because of the beef. Unfortunately, that's what we want to see. And look, that's how Jake Paul has managed to build such a following by just going in and talking a whole load of ish about people and creating that drama. That's what the modern world wants to see. So, good on Tiara. I hope she now goes in on all the rest of them in the same way, and maybe bring a bit more excitement into that division.
Great stuff, mate. Brett, is Sky Nicholson overrated?
Potentially, but I would like us to not push a Castle to one side just yet. I think I think that, again, we're talking about. I'm buzzing with boxing this weekend for a couple of reasons. I'm buzzing with the kind of the world coming out and pouring the heart out about George and talking about how wholesome it can be about the love for each other once you fought each other. But I'm also buzzing for this story as well because, the golden girl of matchroom boxing, apart from Katie Taylor, has been completely humbled by somebody that wanted it. When she got that result, the way she kissed that canvas, the way that she thanked the God and just really went in on how much it meant, because the loss doesn't change Sky Nicholson's life. The win does. The win does change her life, though.
Tiara's.
It changes Tiara's life in a big way, and that to me, like it was a fair result. The right person won the fight, but I also feel like Nicholson maybe she came into boxers, regardless if we talk about the best. Every once in a while, a boxer will come in and will take a fight lightly. I feel like she took this one lightly. I thought she could do enough. I think she could do enough. She keep her. I know she's powerful, but keep her on the end of a jab, jab, dance, turn the corners, jab, dance, hold when she needed to, and she just couldn't do that, and it didn't feel right. So she got the game plan wrong. She took her lightly, and she paid the price in a big way. And I feel like in Sky's mind, she'll know that deep down, and she'll want the rematch. She will want that rematch. That's my opinion on it. And I'm not ready to cast it to one side yet. I'm not saying she's friendly on the eye either, Mr. Neutral. I'm not saying that we're going to tune in and we're going to see big shots and we're going to see amazing this and amazing that. But what we are going to see is we're going to see a more functional performance, I believe. And the last thing I'll add to what Ra said about women's boxing, you're right, mate, in the sense that look at the Sandy Ryan and the Mayer stuff. Look how intrigued we are. I can't wait for that fight. I cannot wait because they hate each other. They want to kill each other.
We need grudge matches in women's boxing.
But they want to kill They want to kill each other. So
We certainly do.
You know how I feel. You know,
True.
Mr. Neutral. Yeah.
You know, I picked Tiara Brown
Yes, you did.
before,
Yes, you did.
and the reasons why, and those reasons bore fruit for Tiara Brown that
I
night.
wanted to give you your flowers, Mr.
Oh,
Neutral.
thank you very much. You go straight ahead.
You definitely called that right down the middle. I was really high on Sky, and I'm with the boxing man, because this is how I feel. I feel like she's gonna want some get back. I think that she did take her lightly. I think that she went in there too cool for school. You know how like you got it already. And I think that was the vibe. She came in there cocky, thinking that she had it already, thought she even had it in the bag, even was shocked that, she didn't get the nod, You're like, shoot, this is my spot. You know what I'm saying? And I still didn't get y'all crazy. Yeah. She thought that she just had to make it to the end. You know what I'm saying? She was smiling the whole time. She was just too cool for school. One person just wanted it more.
Absolutely. Welcome to the show, Matt from Brunch Boxing and Notorious. I'll get to you in a minute, sir. But Matt, I don't know how much of the show you've caught. We've talked about Jake Paul. We've talked about Alicia Baumgartner signing with Jake Paul and the impact of what possible fights we could have with MVP Promotions. I know you're a big fan of MVP for what Jake Paul has done for American boxing. What's your thoughts on this latest signing and also Tiara Brown's performance on Saturday night?
First of all, thank you for having me on the show. Great show as always.
Talk about Scott Nicholson.
What I wanted to say is the first thing about the Jake Paul signing with Alicia Baumgartner. I think it's an excellent signing. It's a big signing for women's boxing because Alicia Baumgartner is one of the most marketable women in all of the sport. I think it does nothing but buoy the entire sport of women's boxing, especially if Jake Paul is going to put her on this July 11th card at Madison Square Garden on Netflix. That's a huge look for all of women's boxing. Now, when it comes to what happened with Tiara Brown, I'm not surprised. Listen, I don't want to accuse Sky of ducking, but she avoided Tiara Brown for as long as she could until the WBC finally said, no, you have to fight this woman. So I just think that she knew what she was in for. She was hoping that she would get some favorable judging, but in the end, she didn't get any favorable judging. And the thing is, with Scott Nicholson, if she wants a rematch, they're going to have to pay a lot of money for that because this was a mandatory fight. There is no rematch clause. So if you want a rematch, you're going to have to pay for it and do it on Tiara Brown's terms. And I speak to my guy, Tony Palmieri from OTX, who is Tiara Brown's promoter, and they're very excited. They're looking to do major things with Tiara Brown. So who knows if even a rematch with Scott Nicholson is in the cards because Overtime has a huge platform. And I think they're really going to push Tiara Brown into the mainstream.
Great stuff. Thank you, Matt. Notorious, welcome to the show.
Mr. Neutral, just before you go into Notorious, big up Notorious, I'm going to pop off, but can I just give a couple of shout outs before I go?
On you go, mate.
Yeah. First shout out is there's a kid that's in our gym that has been plying his trade in the amateur scene, and he went and won the Calgary Cup this weekend by beating a national champion. So big up Porter. He lost to him 4 times previous to this, and he went and won it. So big up. And then the second thing I'd like to say is big congratulations to you and Jams for the next journey that you're about to go on with Red Corner Boxing. I'm absolutely honored and privileged to be part of it. And
resident.
But you boys are going to do big things, and you're great for this space, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it's going. And big up everybody else on the call, but I got to bounce, so take care, boys.
Thank you, Brett. We'll speak to you soon. See you next week, man. You hear that, Remy? You hear that, Remy? The love you get on your show. Notorious, how are you? What did you make of the news, the Jake Paul signing Alicia Baumgartner and Tiara Brown's performance? Are you there, Notorious?
See, your mic's muted, son.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go, mate.
How's everyone doing?
Very well, thank you, mate. Very well. Thank you for joining us once again.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. Yeah, so the new signing of Alicia Baumgartner, it's a great name to have in the stable. I think, like, Jake Paul to make that move, very smart, and he knows like where the money is, right? And for Alicia, I think for her, her career to go off, I think this is like um the best move for her. Jake Paul he's so focused on the women's boxing, right? And Amanda Serrano, she made most of the money with Jake Paul, so I think Alicia is looking at that and thinking, okay, I want a piece of that. And there's also some good fights to make with her. So that's that. And the performance for Sky Nicholson and what's her name? Sorry,
Tara Brown.
Sarah Brown. Yeah, yeah. As Matt said, she was avoided, and that's for a good reason. I think the commentary was very biased as well. I didn't like that.
Always
The
is.
commentary was, it was shit.
to be
The
expected.
commentary was terrible, Notorious.
Yeah, it was
Fucking
shit.
terrible.
It was
That's why
shit.
people tune into Red Callers watch-alongs.
Yeah.
You get me?
Yeah, it was
But hey,
was
you
shit.
dragon.
It was shit, but it was a hard fight for Sky, and
Yeah.
she really kind of Tiana Brown, she fought hard out, which she she actually deserved the win. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean moving forward for her, there's some big fights, some big moves to
Who
be
would you
made.
like to? Who would you like to see a fight next?
I think maybe Alicia Baumgartner. I'm not sure of the weights and stuff, but is that her weight? Alicia Baumgartner and
No,
those kind
no,
of
no.
no.
Tiara, it's what a featherweight, 126.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, I'm not really sure on the women's fight to that way, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
But
but there's a few.
yeah, there's a few, yeah. But yeah, like I mean, other than that, George Kambosos, his performance, it wasn't that great. It was okay. Like, he came back after a while with some inactivity, and he got the win, but he looked kind of sloppy. So I think if he fights Hitchinson next, he's gonna get destroyed.
Yeah, Remy is moving along to Cambosis and headlining that. How on earth does George Camp or Eddie manage to get this guy title fights?
It's crazy. I'm not sure in my lifetime I've ever seen anyone parlay one win into so much shit, bro. Like at this point, like I wouldn't be surprised if George is like modeling for fucking Hugo Boss one day. Like just like what beating Teofimo means so much more than I even grasp as a hardcore boxer. Like I don't understand how this shit keeps like George he's failing forward, bro. Trill, he's failing forward with every loss. Like he's going right back into back in the mix. Give him a bum, take him to Australia, and he's back in the mix every time. So from what I saw, one thing I will say, George was for what the advice I was hearing his corner give him, he was going out and executing it, but around the 6-7 round when his gas tank kind of went down, I could see the guy George's fought guys so much better than that guy. I feel like he overdid trying to knock him out to the point to where around 6 and 7 he realized like, oh damn, he's not gonna go anywhere. So now I have to try to keep this pace up and keep him back. And then the guys start landing big shots. So what I saw was that, you know, I think Richardson is going to be able to do the exact same thing Devin did against him. But unlike Devin, he's not going to go for it. I don't know. You never know with Richardson at this stage. He could do that with George at 140 and stop him. But based off what I've seen in the Baez fight and, you know, against Zepeda, usually when Hitchison figures you out and he has you, he will just keep you at bay. He won't turn it up a notch. He won't go to that extra gear. So I could see him just outboxing him easily, keeping him on the end of it. Just the same thing Devin did to him. It's like it's kind of not hard to keep George off balance. You know, he fights over his front foot a lot. A lot of the movements he does is almost Manny Pacquiao-esque, where, you know, he does certain things with his gloves, then he attacks, does certain things with his gloves, then he attacks. So if you catch on to his patterns, he's really easy to figure out. So Hitchinson's gonna Richardson has seen hella fighters like him. This is, to me, I see it being easy work. Now I'm just looking at the landscape of 140. Who's going to stay? Who's going to go? Who's going to be the guys Richardson ends up actually having, you know, getting some pushback from?
Yeah. Is 140 George's ceiling, you think, from that fight?
Yeah. I don't know why he's getting so much hate, though, for getting these world title shots. I mean, we know how this game works. It's down to marketing. There's been worse fighters than him who've got more lucrative world title shots. I mean, our own Frank Bruno had 4 heavyweight title shots because he was a great draw here in England. Derek Chisora looks like he is going to get his 3rd or 4th crack at a heavyweight title at the age of 40. The market forces sell. I mean, it's those better fighters like Subriel Matias and all the rest of them. If they can't get a shot, it's nothing new in this sport. That said, from what I saw, the arena was pretty empty. I mean, I don't know if Australia's trying to emulate Riyadh by just having empty, quiet arenas. I don't know, but it looked like he didn't sell. And so, looking at some of the comments from our Aussie compatriots down there, they're saying that people turned out to see how he would do against the elite of the sport. They weren't really, you know, they're not really rocking with him like that. So,
Rob is so fucking funny, Rob.
I don't know whether, in that sense, whether is he that big a fight for Hitchens after all, especially if the fight's in America. I mean, how many fans has Kambosos got over there? But you know, I think it's fair to say he ain't as bad as people make out. It has been elite guys who've outboxed him, apart from Maxie Hughes. But star-wise, Remy, you're right. I mean, he's straight up and down, and Hitchens can just ping him all night. And he can probably do it without getting out of second gear. Kambosos will probably do better against other brawlers. So I think him against, say, Matias, although he might get battered, the fight might be competitive in spurts. Whereas I think Hitchens, like I said, you can stay in second gear and outbox him. But hey, listen, not hating on the fighters if they can make their money, if they've marketed themselves well. Good luck to them. But question is, will that cut be better? And even if it isn't, will they just cash out anyway? Because his team must know, well, in a division full of killers, you know, you got to take your chance when you can. There's not going to be any easier route to a world title shot. So yeah, good luck to him. I think he'll probably take that fight in June against Hitchens, and get pinged around. As for his opponent, what was it, Wiley?
Yeah, Jake Wiley.
Him against Josh Padley. How about that? 2 late coming fairy story guys. You know, why not?
Yeah, Padley's a lightweight though.
And he gave a decent account of himself. He
certainly
George
did.
didn't just blow him out the water to the point to where it's like, yeah, I don't want to see you again.
Exactly. Well, that leads me to Matt. Matt, New York guy, Richardson Hitchens. You're going to relish this fight in New York, or and are you more than convinced now that this is so easy for Richardson?
He's about to say something so funny right now. I just know it. Matt, tell him what you think about Richardson Hitchens, Matt.
Listen. Richardson Hitchens is a very talented fighter, but nobody cares about Richardson Hitchens in New York. Let's be honest. The fight is not going to do anything. It's not going to sell anything. I will never forgive Teofimo Lopez for turning George Kambosos into a thing. George Kambosos is not good. He's never been good. He's a domestic level fighter that had the night of his life against Teofimo Lopez and has never been able to even come close to that height again. He's just not a thing. The fact that Richardson Hitchens and Eddie Hearn is trying to turn this into a big thing, they're going to be very disappointed when they see that nobody cares. No, I'm telling you, nobody cares. So they're going to do this
Matt,
fight.
they're pissing you off, Matt?
It is, because it's a waste of a card. They're going to do this fight June 21st in New York, okay? They're going to have probably a couple Australians on the undercard. They're probably going to have my girl Chicken Metcalf on the undercard. They're going to do a lot of stuff on this undercard. And hopefully it'll sell tickets. But honestly, I don't see it. And when it comes to what it means for Richardson Hitchens as a fighter, why don't he just fight Matias? Him versus Matias in New York, Puerto Rican weekend will do numbers. Like, this is not rocket science. I don't understand why Kambosos of all people.
I think he's trying to cash in on a quick defense, to be honest. I think he just wanted a defense win real quick. Somebody would name, he lost to Devin, he lost to Lomachenko. Let's see how he looks against me. And let's be honest, Remy, Matt. I think he's terrified of Matias still. I think he's scared as fuck of Matias, bro.
I understand that, but why does first of all, George Kambosos fighting in March in Australia is not forcing a fight with Richardson Hitchens. Him and Richardson Hitchens could have fought this past weekend in New York if it was that serious. They could have fought already. Like, dude, you've been out since last year. You could have fought already. Like I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I see my guy, Red Corner Boxing, he was saying that Chicken Metcalf and Viviana Ruiz Corredor next. So here's the thing about that. That fight is supposed to be next and was supposed to be next for April 25th. But what I'm hearing is that Viviana Ruiz wants to pull out the fight. So they're going to delay Chicken Metcalf's return until June. That's what I'm hearing.
Thank you, Matt. Trill.
And I mean, listen, y'all are cooking. I don't have to say much but smile and shake my head. Y'all are doing your thing. I just wanted to add the fact that I agree with everything said about George Kambosos. I just think it was the fact that he was the good loser, and he had a country behind him that was coming out to see him lose at first because they thought that these would be competitive fights. And I think that that's what they were banking on, that they would still come out and support him because he had a country behind him. Now, I think that they're going to bank off of the fact of the circus that's coming behind this fight with Hitchison. Because like Matt said, nobody want, if you really think about it, nobody, because, the styles, and how Richardson Hitchison fights sometimes, people are not going to want to see this. But you understand, they're going to try to sell the bad blood, the back and forth with these guys. They're going to try to make it a circus out of this thing and that's how they're going to try to market it. Like it's the bad blood. That's how I think they're gonna try to do it, and that's it, man. And he's just using, and Richard Hitchison is just using Kambosos, like what my man Remy say, just using him for his name. This is a good name to have on his resume. You know why? Because he beat Teofimo Lopez.
Teofimo.
Good night.
He's got a lot to answer for, that Teo.
He was in there, but undisputed with Devin.
Yes,
Crazy that you
that
speak
would have
about
been.
Devin. That's actually a perfect segue because one thing I wanted to ask y'all about. Have y'all seen the craziness going on between the Haneys and Gabe Rosado? I think
Yes.
that should been pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie, Gabe kind of tried to dig into Bill on the boxing voice. He really didn't give him a chance to speak much. Me personally, I do think it's a bit. I think the Haneys kind of took what Gabe said and ran with it, but I could see at this point Devin and Bill kind of being on some whoever, whenever, wherever type thing with the back and forth. They probably up to here with people even speaking on them in a negative light, so they're kind of like, fuck it. If you're not with us, you're against us. So if you're saying anything not in favor of Devin, we're shooting shots. But when I seen the clip of what Gabe said, it wasn't really disrespectful. I do think people are giving. This is one thing I don't like when it comes to Devin Haney. It's like people always want to be the contrarian to what's kind of obvious when it's guys he's up against. Like, for instance, Regis Prograis, right? If you do a little due diligence about, that fight, I just didn't see how people that are in the know of boxing could watch Regis and think he could knock Devin out. Just because his footwork was so bad, his footwork was so bad. And a guy who's a boxer, like any guy who's a boxer, they don't have to have the greatest chins in the world to avoid a guy who it fucking sucks at landing the punch. If the guy is absolutely terrible at landing a punch and you're a guy who's a not even elite, but a good to marginally great, mover and defensive fighter, you could get past a guy like Regis. Same thing here, I think, with Ramirez. I feel like technically he's so technically deficient and he isn't some power puncher that I think it's odd that people think, he's going to maybe knock Devin out unless they think Devin's eggs completely cracked, which I understand. If you think his eggs completely cracked and that's your basis of the argument, then I understand. But what Gabe Rosado basically said was that Ramirez, wants it more. It wasn't really disrespectful, and from there it kind of snowballed into a lot of disrespect. Have you guys been keeping up with it? What do you guys think of that card in itself? And just what's y'all's outlook in general on that?
Who wants to go first?
I'll go with Raw first, and then go to Matt, then Trill, then you, Neutral.
Okay.
I haven't watched the back and forth on the boxing voice. I've just seen sort of stuff in passing. I think you're right. The Haneys look like they just want to bite back to everyone. Actually, again, like I said, I wonder if at some level, especially Bill, he's a mature man. Is it just part of the marketing? Keep his son's name out there. I'm sure there must be an element of that. I don't think he really takes it to heart. And actually, you know what? Someone like Gabe Rosado is the sort of guy you should respond to, rather than say schmucks like us on the internet who are nobodies in the industry. Well, Gabe is someone in the industry, so that is the sort of person you should bite back to. And yeah, look, if it keeps Devin's name in there, keeps him, being talked about, why not? As for that card at Times Square, I mean, I haven't been back to the US for nearly 30 years, so I don't know what it's like there. I mean, are people going to even turn out? I mean, my understanding is it's like quite a closed event, very elitist, which is what Riyadh season seemed to be trying to do. I don't know.
Wait, Rob, I thought it was free tickets to the public. No,
I thought that there was going to be 200 sort of seats ringside, and I don't know, what is the rest of Times Square just going to be like open, a free for all for the public to just go and stand there? Again, I don't know, what ain't there like rules around health and safety and crowds gathering in public places? Again, I don't know. I know in the UK you can't just have uncontrolled crowds just amassed to see an event in that way. But yeah, I don't know.
Chat says the first few thousand are free. The first few thousand are free, apparently.
I mean, I'm really skeptical about the whole of what Riyadh season are trying to do in this sense, because I'm sure you, my three American colleagues, you can confirm this. Americans don't travel in that way. Very few Americans even cross the Atlantic, let alone go to some far off Arab state. So why Riyadh season are investing in putting on this show at huge expense, making a huge loss to publicize their country. Americans ain't going to go there in any significant numbers as tourists.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I've
so
yet to
what,
see one American person that I'm 6 degrees in separation within going. Everyone is already across the pond that I've seen at any Riyadh season events that weren't in the US, bro. No one. Not one person.
yeah, I mean, and look, not many Brits have even gone over there. I mean, I've been to Riyadh season several times now. You know, Fury v Usyk 1 had quite a few Brits, but they were mostly Fury supporters. And you know, it's only a 6-hour flight for Brits. So, you know, just the lack of alcohol, just the fact that it is such a conservative, restrictive state. Westerners generally, they're not going to want to go there. They're going to have to make so many changes. I know, Neutral, you've talked about this with me on the show before, that when they liberalize their rules, maybe. But then, to me, it still don't make no sense. You know, you've got 2 Californian guys fighting in New York. That don't make sense. It would have made more sense. Got Richardson Hitchens, you know, VTO. I don't know. I mean, you guys know the American market better than us, but purely in terms of promoting the sport, I don't think it's working. And I think was it Gary Jonas who went in on Turkey saying that he's like a child, just thinks of things off the top of his head. And you know, they do that a lot over there because they got so much money without having to work for it, that they spend it like, you know, like your teenage son and daughter does. Except there's no dad to tell them your allowance is getting cut off now. But yeah, well, hey, listen, as fans, enjoy it while it lasts. I say, but at least if it's free, then it might actually be full and there might be an atmosphere.
Matt, this must be music to your ears about Turkey Al Sheikh and this waste of time
for sure.
in New York. Does he have a point though about the matchmaking that Richardson Hitchens should be fighting Teal in New York? Might not
Matt,
be
you there?
Trill, I'll ask you the same question until we get Matt back.
Nah, I mean, I don't listen. I don't know. I forgot the main question. The main question, we ended up going into Turkey Al Sheikh. You know that. You know that's
the main question was about the Haney's versus Gabe Rosado and the card on May 2nd.
Okay. All right, cool. Let's get back. Devin Haney and Bill Haney. I'm gonna tell you this. I had the pleasure. Shout out to my bro Rico, man. He's having technical difficulties right now.
Right.
He want to tap in with y'all and everything. You know, it's nothing but love. But yeah, you know, I got the pleasure talking to Bill Haney with Rico and on a little special interview we did. And he said something to me that resonated. You know what I'm saying? He said, because I was asking him, you know, does it give a bad look in the media, him always taking up for Devin? You know, does it make it seem a certain way, blah, blah, blah. And he said something he said, yo, Trill, Commissioner, he said, at the end of the day, I'm his dad. That's what he said to me. And that hit me because I said, you know what? I feel you. Because if somebody said something about my son, I would jump out the window as well. So I can feel Bill Haney.
But he plays the game very well, though, doesn't he, on social media? You know,
he knows what it is. Because look, some of it is passion, right? But and it works because you got to think about it. You don't have to tell him. His son doesn't have to tell him, you know, Dad, don't say that. Don't do that, because he's speaking from he's just gonna jump out regardless. Somebody says something about, like any parent would do. Take boxing aside. Take boxing aside. You know what I'm saying? I know mothers that see their kids in the comment section. They do videos and stuff like that, TikToks and stuff like that. Somebody says something, and that mothers be in the comment section going crazy. You know what I'm saying? On them. because because they talking bad about my baby. So you got to understand, at the end of the day, he's human.
Yeah,
he's human, and everybody's coming after his baby. That's like somebody coming after y'all child. Y'all gonna lose.
It's not happening, is it? It's not happening.
It's not. You're gonna lose your stuff. You're gonna lose your stuff every time, and nobody's gonna be able to tell you, "Hey, this ain't. You can't say this."
It's not their place, is it? Yeah, it's not their place.
Are you crazy? Now you gonna get it. You know, because now you gonna get it because you agree with what they were saying. Oh, now you
and nobody will fuck with that either.
It's different. If it's different for a boy dad, bro, when you got a boy dad, like it's a different level of relation because you know, like their plight is your plight. You know, like we're gonna meet the same hills. You know, we're gonna meet the same mountains. We're gonna meet the same issues. And I think that's, bro. You touched on something extremely important that I think people that kind of lack any because let's be honest, a lot of the people that dislike Bill, it's more so a Tank fan thing, a Ryan fan thing. It's not necessarily people paying attention to the aspect of it where it's like, bro, this dude is a father. Like let's cut everything else out. His son is a part of a combat sport, and he is right along for the ride, passenger seat for the ride. And to be honest with you, I think given the type of because you know these people fucking hate Devin. So for Bill, the way he acts, I believe he handles it great. Because if people acted how people act with Devin with my child, I would be under his comments probably arguing with 600 18-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? So I think he's handling it great as far as that goes. But True, I wanted to ask you, what do you think of the matchups on that card? More specifically, Haney Ramirez, Ryan versus Romero, and of course Tio versus Barboza.
First of all, I wouldn't be called the commissioner if I didn't say that I wish that this fight wasn't taking place with the certain people that's on this card. You know?
Agreed.
You know, with the things that have been said and things that have been done, I think certain times you gotta hurt somebody. And when you hurt certain people, like these guys, you hurt them in the pockets. And I don't believe in, just like when it comes to my children, I don't believe in rewarding bad behavior. And I feel like these guys getting this bag is definitely rewarding bad behavior. So as a commissioner, you know, I wish this fight wasn't taking place. But now, as a boxing fan, as Trill, you know, I put that aside and I say, you know what? Teofimo Lopez. And another thing is, it's actually another spit in the face. Because why would you put Ryan as the headliner or perceived to be as the headliner of this card? You know, if anything, it should be the only undefeated guy up there.
The only guy who's really, you know, the only guy who is on Ring's pound for pound list. The only guy.
It's not only that. It's not only that.
It's another spit in the face. So as a fight fan, I think it's true. As a fight fan, I think, you know, a lot of people are going to tune in. You know that Ryan Garcia, beyond boxing, he has casual fans that he brought into the sport before he even fought his professional fight. He had fans. He had millions of followers on Instagram and TikTok. He was one of those type of kids who promoted himself and was doing videos. He had fanfare before that, you know. So, you know, you get the excitement, you get to see that. I get that. He's gonna bring that, the casual thing into it. Then you got Teofimo Lopez. You know, he's an up and down fighter. You know, to me, I call him the roller coaster because you never know. Like 1 minute he's up, then he's down. Then 1 minute he's up, then he's down. You know what I'm saying? He's the roller coaster fighter for me. So you never know with Teofimo Lopez. Going into this fight, he cannot underestimate Mr. Barboza. He cannot.
No.
He cannot. My thing is, I think that Barboza can pull it off. He can pull it off. Even though that I think Teofimo Lopez, I'm leaning towards Teofimo Lopez. He can pull it off if he stays smart and he stays disciplined and he keeps control pressure. My problem is I think he's too emotional. I think he's too emotional and he's gonna run into something. I think that slap did more damage than anything. You know what I'm saying? That slap right there, it put a fire on him that I think that he's gonna get a little carried away and he's gonna get caught with something. You know?
I'll go one better. I don't think Teo can beat Barbosa, but that's for another time. Remy.
And then, you know, then the main event with Ryan and I really don't care too much for him, you know, but I hope Rolly lands a hard right hand. You know,
it's just strange that he gets an interim title shot and Devin is fighting at 143 catch weight for.
But I just see Ryan's left hook just being way too fast, and I see that him catching Rolly and Rolly's legs doing some crazy. Like I see it, like him hitting Rolly on the temple and Rolly's legs doing something crazy, and then him going down and the ref stopping the fight. You know, that's what I see. But, you know, I hope that Rolly can land that powerful right hand he got. You know, he's a strong fighter. He's not a good fighter. He's a strong fighter. He's overachiever. He got into the boxing late, and he got there off of his marketability as far as talking trash. You know, he was just calling out everybody, and he got there just because of him talking trash. So I'm not mad at Rolly. Shout out to him for getting a big payday. You know,
yeah.
He's a good kid.
Yeah, he's a good kid, Rolly. I like Rolly. And it's not his fault, obviously, you know, the matchmaking. Right, Remy, take us into our last topic of the night, please, sir, before we sign off.
We got Gary Jonas versus Turkey Al-Sheikh, which I think in general is we could couple this also with the TKO boxing situation, right? So we have Turkey Al-Sheikh, we have Gary Jonas, who is over pro box. He's a guy who's managing a lot of fighters right now, such as Lamont Roach. So I think it's crazy because Gary Jonas said what a lot of us guys who are in the know in boxing think. We're analyzing the situation for what it is. We see the bigger picture of it. You can't have pay-per-views that don't sell and continue to pay fighters and get big fights. That's not how it works. Your pay-per-views need marketability. They need to make money, and they need to make money here in America. And as much as people don't like to hear it, we are still the capital of boxing. So if Riyadh is going to completely ingratiate themselves in America, they have to go through the big players in America, such as Bob Arum and Al Heyman and Oscar De La Hoya. And when you look at the language those guys have been using lately, you even go to across the pond with Eddie Hearn. Everybody's looking to take their marbles and go home if they're not making what they want to make, or if the situations don't benefit them mutually. I think that Turkey thought he would be able to buy everybody up, and the chickens have came home to roost, and Dana White was practically the only person left for him to deal with. What do you guys make of that? Gary Jonas had a lot to say about what Turkey Al-Sheikh has been doing lately. He believes his structure isn't it's faulty. He believes that he's kind of biting off more than he can chew. He doesn't have the right people in his corner kind of giving him the boxing knowledge. It's a lot of yes men who are just taking this man's money and not necessarily giving him any true infrastructure to what he's doing with Riyadh. What do you guys make of all this?
Let's go to our Riyadh correspondent first. Ra Holcomb, you've been there many, many times. I suspect you know more about Turkey Al-Sheikh than all of us in this room. So, without compromising your integrity and, of course, your safety, tell us what you think. Of this move by Chuck. Is Gary Jonas actually got a point?
Yes, he does. Like he said, all the just the sort of childish, impulsive ideas that they throw out, which are good. Like I said, some of them are good in the short term. Because, for example, we've got certain fights made that wouldn't have been made without their financial input. I disagree with you, Remy, that America is the capital of boxing now. I think the American fight establishment have been doing this for the past 30 years. That is, you've not you've not moved with the times. You still think it's like the first 100 years of boxing that America dominates. It isn't, and it isn't because the popularity of the sport's declined in America. Is America still the biggest market? Potentially, yes. Of course it is. It's like, what, 300, 400 million people there? But if people ain't, tuning in to buy the fights, and if there isn't as much uptake in participating, in particular the most lucrative division, the most prestigious, the heavyweight division, which America's lost for 30 years, there's no fight night like MSG or Vegas card. Yeah, but it's got to be the right fight. I mean, when was the last Vegas or MSG fight night that really sold? That was a super fight that had the American public generally invested. For example, are there any American fighters who are household names now? I would say there ain't.
Tank and Lamar Roach it did pretty great, bro. I'm just
that nobody wanted to see.
Listen, what I'm saying is, compared to when I was growing up, everyone knew who Mike Tyson was. I'm sure if you ask some average white grandma in middle-class suburbia of America, do you know who Tank Davis is? They probably ain't got a clue.
Well, they also know Mike Tyson for other things, antics, and being in the news for other things.
Listen, Tank's antics ain't that much better. But anyway, you get. This is my point, though.
I think it's more so what you said initially, though.
Sorry.
Like I think it's more so what you said initially. We have the NBA and the NFL here, so the same guys that would have been fighting it out for the WBC, they're fingers in the dirt playing DM right now.
Other sports are more just boxing can't compete. But in so far as the Saudis' involvement, like I said, for those other reasons I mentioned, I can't see it being a success. And I've made this point before. Saudi Arabia is a volatile kingdom. Yeah, there is always power struggles. Now, Paulie Malignaggi on his channel recently, he pointed out a report that the Guardian did about Turki al-Sheikh, that at the last coup, some of the things that he was allegedly involved in getting his best mate, the current crown prince, in power. All right, I don't want to go into politics, but listen, it's not stable enough when it's dependent on a authoritarian state. Because look, just a few years ago, how did boxing come to Saudi Arabia? It was Prince Khalid who brought Anthony Joshua to the kingdom. Yeah, he must have pissed off one of his cousins. They get rid of him and put Turki al-Sheikh in. But in the kingdom, there's always these power struggles between the different princes, all trying to get an upper hand. Eventually, if all this money he's putting in doesn't bring dividends in terms of the tourist revenue, someone's going to say, hey, look, Prince Salman, your best mate Turkey, spent a couple of billion of the national treasury and the stadiums are still empty. We can get this clown out and let's spend our money on Formula One or whatever, some other thing. That, the model just ain't sustainable, as Gary Jonas has pointed out. So yeah, I think Jonas he does have a good point, but I don't think Americans can see, that they can still control the sport the way they used to up until the 90s. The sport has declined in America and its popularity has increased in other parts of the world. So I think now you're going to just see, for a time being at least, the market is going to be diffused across various parts of the world. Until, I don't know, the way it will change is if an American fighter comes along that can capture the imagination of the public generally. I don't know who that is. I mean, who's the biggest seller in America?
Probably going to be Devin Haney. Devin Haney.
Devin Haney. Listen, I'd love it if it is Devin after what he's been through, but yeah, let's see. But as it stands, I think they're both right and they're both wrong. But as for this TKO league, again, I don't know what the hell that's about. If this pay structure is that's been leaked, if that's accurate, it will only be absolute novices who will take up that offer. Anyone operating at anywhere near world level, they're not going to take offers like that, are they? So
yeah, I think their competition will end up being Pro Box and OTX. Guys like Red Owl, people who are doing shows on a smaller level, up to 700,000. That's not going to get you a Tank Davis or a Shakur Stevenson, or that's just not enough money for those guys. They'll have too much cachet coming into boxing. They'll command purses like that even before they, or maybe right when they get world titles. So I don't think that'll be a thing for them. Matt, I wanted to ask you too. I'm not sure what parts you heard, but what did you think of what Gary Jonas said about Turki Al-Sheikh? And also, what do you think about the TKO pay structure? I want you to be as elaborate as possible about the Turki Al-Sheikh part, Matt. I would appreciate that.
So with Gary Jonas and Turki Al-Sheikh, I mean, I saw this coming from a mile away. I've been talking about it for the better part of a year now, because it's clear, at least to me, that there's a war going on with Ring Magazine and boxing scene. We've seen Keith Idec going back and forth with boxing scene about accreditation when it comes to stories. We see boxing scene do little petty things like revealing to the masses that the greatest card of all time, Beterbiev versus Bivol, was done in a 6,000 seat arena. So there's just like a little petty back and forth. I was told that Riyadh seasoned fighters are not allowed to interview with boxing scene anymore. So there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with Turki Al-Sheikh and Gary Jonas. And Gary Jonas looks at this announcement of TKO boxing as a direct shot at him because of Pro Box. And he's been told, because he does have a lot of guys that used to work for him and are friendly with him, that work for Ring Magazine now. And he said that he's been told that they are coming after Pro Box. Now, I do disagree with Ra when he says that they're only going to be able to get absolute novices. That's not true at all, because we have to think about the real economy of boxing. There are a lot of boxers who have immense talent, but maybe they don't have a big promoter behind them. Somebody like a Daniel Yelusinov, the Kazakh guy, who I heard that he signed to TKO already. Somebody like, say, like an Albert Bell, who couldn't get a title shot with the WBO for years. I think he would jump at the chance to be the TKO champion for $750,000 a fight. So and if you think about it, there's not a lot of money in the lower weight classes. 105, 108, 112, even 118. The money is at 122 with Inoue, but outside of fighting Inoue, you think these guys are making $750,000 a fight? Absolutely not. So they, if you think about it, they corner the market on almost every fighter from 130 all the way down to minimum weight. I think they could corner the market on that. I also think that they can corner the market on cruiserweight, because cruiserweight is not a lot of money in cruiserweight. Also, if you think about it, you have guys that are at middleweight. Middleweight's not making a lot of money. You can corner the market on a lot of guys at middleweight, because middleweight is a thin division to begin with. So maybe a guy like Shane Mosley Jr., who's a free agent now, he's no great shakes, but you can get guys of that level and maybe get guys with a certain like cachet or a bit of a name, and then you can have them put over the new cheaper talent that you're bringing in. So that way you could legitimize whatever it is you're trying to do with TKO.
Thank you, Matt. Cho, what do you think?
Nah, y'all hit the nail on the head. I'm sitting here as an observer. Y'all are cooking. Y'all are cooking right now. Matt's cooking. Y'all are all cooking. Rim's cooking. Even Ross cooking. All of y'all are making perfectly good sense right here.
Okay.
Dope show. I just feel like Turki Al-Sheikh is doing what he's been allowed to do.
You see, allowed to do. Because obviously the laws of the land he has to operate within. I want to come back to this prize money, Matt. You mentioned 750,000. Now, according to my knowledge, that is when you're at the top sort of sphere of this system, because to get to that, you've got to go through the other prize money, which is if you do a 10-rounder or an 8-rounder, you get such and such money. If you do a 10-rounder, and then if you any 12-rounders, that's when you start seeing that kind of money. Do you not see that there's going to be so many fighting for these 8-round passes and 6-round passes first before they can get to that level? And just how long do they need this system for? To get to it, how long have they got to sign on to this league and to do one season? These are all questions that have I've yet to fathom and to see how it worked. But it's definitely a war going on between Riyadh season and the American market. That is 100% clear and present right now.
You think they're going to try to turn it into bringing Dana White in, especially during this tournament? Do you think they're going to try to make it into some type of Ultimate Fighter type of thing?
Yeah, I think they're going to have to re-strategize it and as they go along. Because for me, the way they're talking about how the system's going to run, it could be a while before they actually get these sort of top level fighters, because I think there's going to be many people hesitant.
I think you're going to be very surprised at the amount of talent that they can get for them prices.
I hope so, Matt.
These boxers are not making the money that you guys think that they're making. You think?
Now they definitely going to take the cash. That's why I said able to do what he's allowed to do. They're going to take the cash.
You think that Shaqy Foster is making more than $750,000 a fight? I doubt
but he's not going to get $750 a fight. He's not going to get $750.
Why you use
Shaqy Foster is a champion. He's not going to go sign with TKO.
Listen, I'm telling you right now, Neutral. Listen, I have no inside information. This is just me reading the tea leaves. Shaqy Foster ain't making no $750,000 a fight. He's making much less than that. Okay, Brian Norman Jr., who's with Top Rank, his own manager told me they were getting $300,000 for his next fight. So you're telling me he wouldn't fight for $750,000? There are a lot of guys who will fight for $750,000, and now you keep talking about the pay structure. They're not going to be starting from zero. You think if a guy like Albert Bell signs with TKO, they're going to have him very low in the rankings? No, he's automatically going to be the best guy that they have at 135. Automatically, because they're not signing Tank, they're not signing Shakur, they're not signing guys like that. So he's automatically going to be the best guy in their rankings. Remember, their rankings are not WBC, WBO, the sanctioned body rankings. Their rankings are their own, based upon the guys that they have. So if all
Ring Magazine rankings.
No, that's going to be separate too. That's going to be separate too. It's literally going to be based upon the guys that they have in-house. So you're telling me that if you have Albert Bell and Who Shot John as part of your 135 division, you're telling me Albert Bell's not going to be ranked number 1 already? Of course he is. He's going to be getting paid right off the bat. So that's why I think they're going to be able to secure maybe some names that you're not expecting.
Okay, then. So we're talking about the 15.
He's allowed to do because he has the bag. And a lot of people are going to go for the money.
Now, they've talked about bringing back just the old traditional boxing divisions, no subdivisions like supers and the lights. It's just going to be straight down the line, lightweight, welterweight, etc., etc. The 750,000 to each champion in each league. That's going to be a costly exercise in the long run, is it not? And where does the money come from? And to keep within US business laws, because Turkey Al Sheikh can't be seen to be just going in with hundreds of millions of dollars and not make any money. There's laws against that. So I think there's going to be a restricted venture at first before they can start, lording around ridiculous amounts of money. Now, if it turns out that the likes of Albert Bell and others of the ilk who are that level can earn that kind of money, then that will, in some measure, hurt the traditional sanctioning bodies in their, rankings outside the top 10, top 15, maybe. There's got to be, within the current professional pool, there's got to be a giveaway somewhere. Either the sanctioning bodies will lose so many professional boxers to TKO, or TKO will just be flooding themselves with C and D level fighters. What do you think?
You talking to me?
Yes, sir.
I don't think Albert Bell is a C and D level fighter. Albert Bell is a great fighter, probably one of the best at 130 currently, but he doesn't have the promotional backer behind it. Like I said, like this league is going to do wonders for guys who have the talent but don't have the big promoter or the financial backing.
There's surely the few and far between.
Yeah, but just because you don't have a big promoter doesn't mean that you don't have talent.
That's not said. That's not been. No, I never said that. What I said is because these boxers are not in a position, like you said, but not a promoter without a great team behind them, which the top 15 usually have traditionally. This,
but look at it this way.
This is perfect for Albert Bell and guys who are non-promotional.
But look at it this way. So Eddie Hearn just signed Ernesto Mercado last year. Now all of a sudden, people are trying to pretend like Ernesto Mercado is some great fighter at 140. Now he could be, but nobody thought that before he signed with a promoter. Now he got financial backer behind him. There's a lot of Ernesto Mercados out here in boxing who don't have the promoter behind them. Like I mentioned, the Danny Yalusinov guy, the Kazakh guy who used to be signed to Eddie Hearn, Kazakh Thunder, he signed with TKO. You telling me he can't make no noise at welterweight? Of course he can. He just hasn't had the financial backing behind him. So I just think, like, for guys like that who have great talent but not the money, TKO will be perfect for them because now they can make money and they can get fight dates because they're gonna be fighting 3 times a year. They're gonna be I think they said that it's going to be like a 3-year deal that they're going to sign initially with them.
Yeah.
So they have a reported structure in place. I'm just curious to see who's going to sign with them.
Yeah, me too. Well, look, guys, it's been 90 minutes. I want to thank each and every one of you for your time. Punch Out Boxing, Ra, to Trill, the Commissioner and iBoxing Hub, Matt from Brunch Boxing, and Remy, my host, I should say. And great show tonight. A fantastic tribute to George Foreman, and wonderful tributes across the board. Please like and subscribe to Red Corner Boxing. That's our new channel. Myself and Jams, and all the other guys in the chat. Go and find them on X, please, and give them a like and subscribe. Fantastic, guys. Right, we'll see you next week for episode 31. My name is Mr. Neutral. That is Remy. This has been HardTalk USA. Thank you.